Hey everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the really fascinating anatomy of online health advertorials. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the source material for a product called Provident. Now, if you've ever found yourself endlessly scrolling through one of those long health presentations online and kind of wondered exactly how they're engineered to keep you hooked, well, you are in the perfect place. We're going to completely deconstruct the exact methods, the scientific references, and the legal frameworks used on this page to see how these types of commercial messages are actually built. It's honestly a fascinating look at modern digital marketing. Okay, let's quickly map out our journey for today. First, we'll tackle the dental foam claim. Second, we'll unpack the science. Third, the systemic connection. And fourth, the fine print reality. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the dental foam claim, and how it hooks the reader. So get a load of this. Swirl this red dental foam around your mouth to remineralize teeth overnight. This is the exact, incredibly bold premise presented right at the top of the source material. And what's really interesting here is the sheer level of specificity. I mean, they aren't just pitching you a generic tube of toothpaste, right? They're introducing a red dental foam. It honestly sounds a little more like a magic potion than your standard morning routine. And then they pair it with a highly specific, rapid timeline, overnight. This is designed to create immediate, undeniable curiosity. It makes you ask, wait, what exactly is this foam and how on earth could it work that fast? It is a literal textbook example of a curiosity-driven marketing hook. Boom, right after that bold hook, the page attempts to instantly establish authority. You immediately get hit with a badge that says verified by Applify, right next to a picture of a medical professional identified as Dr. Andrew Knudson. They also flash logos from various major media networks where he's supposedly been featured. But here is where observation is absolutely key. If you look closely at the source text, there's this tiny little disclaimer tucked right beneath those impressive logos. It explicitly notes that Dr. Knudson is not actually endorsed by, sponsored by, or affiliated with any of those media organizations. It's such a fascinating technique, isn't it? Borrowing the visual credibility of major networks while legally distancing the product from them entirely in the small print. Moving right along to section 2, unpacking the science and building that authority. Once this page has you hooked and has attempted to establish that initial baseline of trust, it completely shifts gears. It transitions from a snappy marketing hook into a heavy reliance on scientific literature. And to understand the sheer scale of the audience they are targeting here, we just have to look at their first few citations. They cite the National Institute of Dental and Craniofacial Research, and they specifically focus on tooth decay in adults aged 20 to 64. That number, 20 to 64, is massive. It tells us that this pitch isn't some niche product for a small group. It is explicitly designed to appeal to the broadest possible demographic of working-age adults who might have even a little bit of anxiety about their dental health. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding how they frame the problem. A major recurring theme across their 14-point scientific bibliography is the oral microbiome. Now, if you aren't familiar, a microbiome is basically the community of microorganisms. We're talking bacteria, fungi, viruses that just naturally exist in environments like the human mouth. By heavily focusing on the microbiome, the advertorial suggests that this product isn't just about, scrubbing your teeth. It's about managing a delicate, complex biological ecosystem. It totally elevates the conversation from a boring daily chore into an epic biological battle happening right inside your mouth. And every good battle needs a villain, right? More specifically, their citations narrow in on a particular enemy, Streptococcus mutans. This is a specific bacteria widely recognized in dental science as a primary culprit behind tooth decay and cavities. By naming a specific microscopic enemy, the advertorial gives you, the reader, a highly tangible villain to fight. It's no longer just some generic, invisible plaque. It's a targeted, scientific threat. And this shows exactly how brilliantly they build out their scientific angle. They reference very real studies from PubMed and Science Direct. These citations discuss how specific probiotics, like Lactobacillus salivarius, can actually inhibit the formation of the decay-causing biofilms created by that Streptococcus mutans bacteria we just talked about. By connecting their product pitch to documented probiotic research, they are literally anchoring their commercial claims in the exact language of legitimate, peer-reviewed science. Which brings us to section 3, the systemic connection, going way beyond just the mouth. Let's move to the next set of citations and see how this narrative really builds. A super common tactic in these types of advertorials is to radically raise the stakes, moving from a localized annoyance to a terrifying full-body concern. The advertorial dramatically broadens its scope right here. It completely moves away from just talking about cavities and starts referencing scientific papers that connect oral health to massive systemic health issues. Just look at these links. They cite research associating periodontal disease with obesity. They reference the gut microbiome's connection to mood disorders. They cite studies linking gum disease to heart disease. They even bring up the concept of inflammaging, how chronic inflammation contributes to age-associated diseases. The underlying message is crystal clear. Ignoring your oral health doesn't just mean a trip to the dentist. You are potentially risking your heart, your weight, and even your mental well-being. And to make sure those terrifying systemic links really stick in your mind, they list some of the most respected institutions on the planet: the American Heart Association, Harvard Health Publishing, the American Academy of Periodontology. By citing these specific heavy hitters, the page borrows significant institutional credibility to validate the severe systemic risks of poor oral hygiene. It's a massively powerful psychological lever. I mean, if Harvard and the American Heart Association are saying gum disease is linked to heart issues, you as the reader are much, much more likely to take this advertorial's proposed solution seriously. And finally, Section 4, the fine print reality. This is where the legal protection comes into play. Okay, so we've seen the bold overnight claims, and we've walked through the incredibly dense science. But if we scroll all the way down, the small print reveals a totally different landscape. First, it notes that a company called Digistore24 is the actual retailer of the product. And their disclaimer? It is incredibly specific. They explicitly state that the content and the product are provided strictly on an as-is and as-available basis. They are absolutely not guaranteeing that overnight remineralization mentioned way up at the top of the page. Legally speaking, they are selling it exactly as it is, with zero implicit warranties attached. When we compare that initial marketing promise directly to the legal disclaimer, it's a pretty stark reality check. Top of the page, swirl this foam to fix your teeth overnight. Bottom of the page, it explicitly states results may vary. It notes that individual results, including the amount of change and the time it takes, will vary based on genetics, food intake, and metabolism. It literally says no individual result should be seen as typical. Furthermore, despite all those heavy citations of Harvard Health and PubMed, the site clearly states the content is not intended in any way as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. It even goes so far as to say the information on the website is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Because, nothing says entertainment quite like reading up on Streptococcus mutans, right? This actively legally distances the retailer and the author from any actual medical liability. They strongly urge you to consult a physician before undertaking any new healthcare regimen, totally undercutting the premise that this product alone is a guaranteed medical fix. And finally, this is perhaps the most revealing piece of the entire fine print section. The disclaimer casually discloses that some names and personal identifying information on this site have been changed to protect the privacy of individuals. This adds a huge layer of ambiguity to the personal stories, the testimonials, or even the professional endorsements featured on the page. Those deeply compelling emotional stories you read that push you toward the checkout page, they might not feature the actual names or exact details of real people. As we wrap up this explainer, we really have to step back and look at the whole picture. We have a product that hooks you with a promise of literal overnight results, wraps itself up in legitimate, peer-reviewed scientific citations from places like Harvard, and then completely shields itself with impenetrable, as-is, and for entertainment purposes only disclaimers at the very bottom. It leaves us with a vital, fascinating question to ponder. When you are out there navigating health information online, where exactly is the line between cutting-edge science and purely commercial marketing? Thank you so much for joining me today, and definitely keep that question in mind the next time you find yourself scrolling through a health advertorial.